Morning, Bill, on this lovely sunny day in Little Mallup Street.
Yes, it sure is, Mark. But you want to talk about the rain last night?
No.
The rain bomb that came through Geelong?
It certainly pumped down.
And, this week's been interesting, Mark, because it's what I call Annual General Meeting Week.
It is.
So I've been to the Geelong Manufacturing Council Annual AGM. I've been to the Geelong Chamber AGM and a couple of others. And last night we were at the Chamber AGM together, weren't we?
Yeah, and tonight I've got the AICD AGM, which is a Zoom call. So.
Well, and there's the G21 AGM this afternoon. So I guess that's the season for it as we lead into Christmas.
It is.
It's all right, Mark. Here we are, as you say, in Little Mallup Street, which has built a reputation in Geelong in recent times for regeneration, I guess. But who are we interviewing today?
Well, we're sitting in the lovely surrounds of the Arborist with the owner, Donna Schneider. Hello, Donna.
Hi, boys.
Good morning, Donna.
And it's a lovely place, isn't it? You look out and there's the tree out the back and tree out the front, and it's just got a nice atmosphere to it. And meanwhile, the kitchen's starting to work feverishly.
Yeah, it's 9 o'clock in the morning,
A
Mark.
wedding happening tonight, so they're going to be busy. Anyway, Donna, welcome.
Thank you.
So where did you go to primary school?
Primary school was at St Margaret's in East Geelong. Then we moved to Highton, so I went to Mercia, and then went on to go to Sacred Heart.
How many people have we had? St Joey's and Sacred Heart. It's that little
and
group.
And some of those primary schools, of course, no longer exist. That's what we're hearing.
Yeah.
And I've got a granddaughter started at Sacred Heart this year.
Yes.
So
it continues.
That's right. Life goes on, doesn't it?
So while you're at school, any jobs?
My job was at Geelong Covent Garden, a fruit shop in Highton. So I worked there. I started, I think, when I was at roughly 13 or 14. And I then went into fashion. But why I'm bringing this up, the pay that we were getting was obviously so little, but I was counting up how much it was going to cost me to buy a top or a pant or something, and it was like, oh, this is going to take forever.
And while you were going through high school, did you have an idea of what you wanted to do?
Always loved creativeness, or something in the creative field is always what I wanted to do. And so our upbringing was a bit tough. Mum and Dad divorced when I was 9, before we then went on to Sacred Heart, so it was a single income. So it was a bit of a push on, what I could do and how I could do it. And, clothing and fashion was something I always wanted to do. So that's where I wanted to play with, and I was just going to see how it went.
So what did you do when you finished school?
So I actually left at year 11. I was 16 and a half. I'd applied to get into the fashion at the Gordon. I didn't get in. I got on the wait list, and I thought, well, that's not going to work. I'm going to have to go get a job. So there was 2 Geelong-based designers at the time. One was Caroline Mojic, and she was actually in the Clartley's Lane, just down here. And then there was another one called Carol Hanlon, and she was in Centre Point Arcade. So I went to Caroline, and she was a flat no, and I was like, okay, I'm going to have to get myself up and get to the next place and see if I can get a job. So I walked in, and I got a job. I just said that I'd finished school and this is what I want to do, and and I think I started the next day. And it was like an apprenticeship as such, because you were learning all facets of what sort of went on, So we had a cutting room there, so we would cut all the garments. All the ranges were put together there. We had machinists that would come in and take one of the garments away and sew it at home. It wasn't in a factory that it was done. So you learnt all aspects of what was going on. So
that was
great.
Chalk and scissors, wasn't it?
Yeah,
in
totally.
those days?
Yep,
sure
totally.
was.
Yep.
It's interesting. Remember, we spoke to somebody in the last podcast about his first job, and his father drove him to the factory, and there's a sign out the front saying, don't apply, that if you're under 17, etc. And he turned to his old man and said, well, there's no jobs there, Dad. And he said, you go in there because that sign's for other people. Right? And he got the job.
Perseverance.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, it is.
And so where did that lead to?
So I was with her for quite a few years, and then I went back and actually did part of the fashion course at the Gordon through her. So I just went back and did the pattern making side of it because we were doing design. I was doing cutting. I was using one of those big cutters. So there was all aspects that I was doing. She then finished when I was 21. She actually closed her operation and moved over to Perth. And then I got a job at Austin Group. So I started in the pattern room in the kidswear. And I think within 6 months, I then had moved up to the buying floor, which was above us. So the buyers and the designers were in there. And I worked in the boys' wear area. And I don't really know. I think I was sort of classed as a merchandiser as such. But I worked with the designer and the buyer at boys' wear. And I soon got into the buying side of it, I think within that year, and I was going over to China. So I then would do 2 trips to China a year, 2 trips to Europe a year, doing the ranging. And I did that till I was 29. Then one of the suppliers from China came over to Australia and wanted to set up a business over here. He wanted to educate his kids over here. So they poached me, and I went up to them and set up a kids' wear label up there. Did that for a couple of years.
What was the label? Can you say the label?
The label at the time,
Doesn't matter if you can't.
I can't actually remember what it was called. But in that amount of time, there was probably another 2 years or so in that sort of mix of time. And I then went into partnership with a couple of guys, and me in business, I was creative. I knew clothing, and I knew my margins of what I needed to do to buy, to sell the garment, but I didn't know business. But I was like, well, okay, I can bring $1.5 to $2 million worth of sales in a range per 6 months into this, and I'll learn the rest of it because I figured that, I can do this. That's
learn by doing, they say.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. So we did that. We did a lot of development for Just Jeans and JJ's, and we had an absolute bumper a couple of years. It was really good. And then these 2 guys I didn't really know that well, and they turned out not to be the best of people to be dealing with. So I moved back down to Geelong and took my label with me. And my accountant that I was dealing with was accountant to Nigel Austin. So I'd met Nige obviously years ago because his parents, or Grant, and Grant's brother Richard owned Austin Group. And they wanted to set up a kidswear division. So I actually went into partnership with them and set up Cotton On Kids. So I was with them probably for about 18 months. And then we went our separate ways. Actually, it was probably even only 16 months. Probably more so, I'm probably a bit more creative than what Cotton On is, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And it was the time when they were growing massively. They were opening up stores. They just moved out to Separation Street in North Geelong.
Yep.
And it was when they were going gumbusters at opening up all these stores, and kidswear,
ringing the bell in the lobby every time they opened the shop.
Kidswear was the same with, we were opening up 10 stores, but we didn't have the stock to do it. And I'd come from wholesale and they were retail, and they were so busy with their stores, I couldn't get the information to find out how many tops, pants, and to do it. So it just got all too hard, and I was like, okay, I'm going to concentrate on what my little baby is, which was Ouch clothing. And they did what they did. So, and obviously they're going gumbusters, as you know.
And of course, here we are now, total. So what tipped you into food? I guess because we talk about our tipping points.
Yeah.
What tipped you into hospitality and food?
So my husband owns Beav's Bar, and my warehouse for Ouch Clothing was in North Geelong. And we lived in Geelong West, so I'd drive down Packington Street to get to work all the time. And this red warehouse building, which I think had homewares type of sort of products in it, was there. And we went into it one day and it just had this beautiful feel. It had all these amazing skylights through it. And we're like, this would be a really good bar, restaurant or something like that. So our accountant approached the guy and said, do you want to sell? And he said, sure. So we bought the building and set it up. And so that's how we basically got into doing a restaurant.
And that's now called?
So it was Siegfried's at the time. It's now called Meet Me at Mary's.
Meet Me at Mary's, that's right, yes.
So do you still dabble in clothing?
No, but I do interiors at our restaurants.
Okay, so you still keep that design and that's still
and
going.
I think the biggest thing, I need to do my creative side of it. I think it's important to me. I'd love to be doing more than I do. But, you know, to make sure that the venue is set up how it is every day, you know, the customers come in and they don't see what goes on, they just know it looks great. But you need to ensure that it looks smick every time, from wiping down the bottom of the bases of the tables to all the little fine details that they walk in and say, this looks great. But if those little details weren't done, you wouldn't get the atmosphere that the guests want.
So Mark, we haven't yet mentioned why we're here today because of the Arborist won an award, a key award in the Geelong Business Awards.
Yep, the Tourism and Hospitality Award under the Geelong Business Excellence Awards. So that was outstanding result for Donna and the team
fantastic.
here.
That's right.
And before we sort of touch on the Arborist, that's a steep learning curve then if you, from fashion to suddenly, let's go and open.
Massive.
How did you learn? Obviously, Beav was the one with the knowledge of food and hospitality.
No, he wasn't. He does nuts and chips at the bar. So food
Drinks nuts and chips, correct?
Yeah, food was not his thing. It was a steep learning curve because we had a friend of ours that was a chef, so we worked with her to get the chef, work on a menu at the start. And just the whole concept of what we needed and how the kitchen was going to flow and what we needed to do. And it wasn't a great start. Our head chef, as they do say with lots of chefs, aren't great. And this particular one wasn't great. He was getting kickbacks from suppliers and doing all sorts. And, you know, you know what your margins need to be. You know what your landed costs need to be to get to the point to make your profits, and things just weren't gelling. So it was a really big learning curve for the first couple of years for the business. Then we got it together and it was working really well. So then this space here came available, this land with the Arborist. So we didn't really want anyone else to do anything on the site, being next to Beav's bar. So we thought, well, we're going to have to buy it. So we bought the land. We probably sat on it for a good year. Beav put his prices up to pay for the loan that was going through, and then we worked on what we wanted to do and how we needed to do it, and the building permits and whatnot.
And it's a prime site because if you
remember... By the way, what is the address, Mark?
Oh, what is the address,
yes.
Donna?
Is 75 Little Mallet Street.
75 Little Mallet. You can't miss it when you walk down because of the trees. But I remember this. It was a derelict block, basically, wasn't it? It was right in the middle of an area where there's eateries all around. There was this awful... empty, desolate spot.
Brick wall at the front. Where we're sitting right now was like a deck.
Yep.
And the homeless would actually sleep here.
Yep.
At night, and it wasn't flash.
Wasn't
flash at all.
But it's a really... So who designed this? Were you heavily involved in that?
I was heavily involved in it. So the original architect, we obviously wanted to keep the trees. And so there was the two big trees that are here now. Yep. Then there was probably another two smaller ones, and so we needed to sort of work around what we could keep or what we couldn't. So a couple had to go to obviously give us enough space inside. Originally we were going to do containers, so a big long one where the big bench seat is, and then a smaller one that would go out to the bar area. And we costed it out, and to bring it in around the trees and everything was just going to be so difficult. So we thought, okay, we'll build it. And the architect that I was using at the time also worked for another firm, and so his time was really tough in what he was doing. So he did the original drawings for me, and then I just dealt with Jed from North Building Group, and himself and myself basically did everything else. So we changed a couple of things as we sort of went around. We added the curve and extended the bar out. We always wanted to have all the metal windows. Obviously creates a really nice feel. Yep. And every position within the restaurant is a great spot to sit, which is...
Yeah, there's no blind spots, are there?
No.
When you look at... How many do you seat?
So inside we sit 47 to 52.
Yep. And how many staff have you got?
We have, kitchen-wise, we have 5 full-time and a couple of part-timers.
Yep.
Then front of house, we've got 2 full-timers, and then we probably have another 8 to 10 rotating on casual.
That's right, and we're just talking before we started this interview about the Gordon, and that you utilise their, is it culinary school? Is that what it's called down there?
It is.
Or
So
I call it a cooking school, but and you're able to work with them, and you're looking at helping with apprenticeships and those sorts of things.
Yep.
Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, we have an apprentice at the moment, so he just started with us a couple of months ago. So he loves cooking, and he was working up at the Diggers and doing a couple of shifts there just on weekends. And we just had a call out from another friend, obviously contacts through the industry, just checking if we had something available for him. So we got him in, had a bit of a chat to him, met his mum, because he's 17. Met his mum, and then, went through a process of how we do things and what we do. He then did a couple of shifts with us to see what he was interested in, if this is where he wanted to go. And yep, it was. And so we've put him on. He works mainly out of Meet Me Mary's, but he does do a couple of days here. And so he's going through the Gordon, which is really good.
Right, I'm really interested in your comment, we met his mum, because I've had a bit to do with apprentices, and one lately, young fella straight out of school, and showed all the promise in the world, but unfortunately we had to, he was through an agency, an apprenticeship company, we had to let him go because there was obviously something going on at home with his family life and all the rest of it, and we were really disappointed that this happened. So why did you meet his mum?
I think it's important to see the background of where he comes from, and just hear what she has to say, and know where Angus wanted to go with things. It's just, and I suppose we go back to culture of what we have here. I'm probably a bit more reserved, and don't really like selling myself, but I'm really good at watching what goes on and surveying people and understanding people, and I can read people quite well, and you can tell who's got the right qualities that we need.
The culture's really important, and when Joe and I came here for the judging, and the crew presented to us, so that was your executive chef,
yes,
the front of house lead,
yes, front of house manager,
and
Beav was here,
Beav, and your marketing,
my social media.
They all were from the same hymn book without it being a rehearsed, and it really struck us that the culture is there,
it is.
And that also gives you that flexibility with your moving between the different places.
It does.
Because they get the same level of standard.
We've got staff within, and probably the casual staff, within the 3 businesses that float around. If we need a kitchen hand, we'll grab the bussy from Beav's and he can go over to the Arborist or Mary's, which works well. Some of the bar staff at Beav's, they may not start till 10 o'clock. They can work here for a couple of hours at the Arborist before they go over. So it works quite well. Works quite well. It's then the biggest thing or the biggest fight we have is who's paying for who and what's going on.
I can. So how do you and Beav work together? Who does what? What's the structure between you?
So I probably look after both venues, and he mainly looks after the
Beav's.
Looks after Beav's bar. Yep.
Okay.
So what's your biggest challenge at the moment? Running this sort of business.
Biggest challenge at the moment is getting more people through the door, because obviously it's tough out there right now, and the people that are coming through. We're obviously in a fantastic location, so we're a busy restaurant, but probably the spend per head isn't as high as what it normally is. They're probably not drinking as much as they normally do, and obviously that's where your margins are. But, we'll just sit tight with this and wear it out for the next couple of months. And, we'll see what happens with interest rates, although they're saying it's not going to drop.
Just depends what time of the day it is and who you listen to and what paper you read, doesn't it? I think that's what it's all about. But it's in Geelong in recent times, of course, all the better known pubs have all been done up. They've all had a crack at changing who they are and what they are and what they serve, and some of them have gone to a higher level. But I'm also noticing quite a few of them, in that mode, only last about 12 months. And it's not sustainable. So what makes your business sustainable?
I think what makes our business sustainable is we're giving all factors. So we've got the atmosphere, we've got the food, and we've got the service. And, if you look at a lot of or read a lot about venues, although the food should be the higher or the main thing that you think of, it's actually not. It's the service. And so if your food may be mediocre, but if you have someone that is serving you and creating a bit of fun for you and you walk out and think that was great, they'll be back. If the food wasn't 100% and they have that atmosphere, they'll be back. But we ensure that all 3 things are at the correct par, and so they just keep coming back.
I think you hit that nail on the head with service. I better be careful what names I use here, but I'm in a Golden Oldies rowing crew, and we go to a certain coffee place, for instance.
I'd leave it at
on
that.
A Sunday, and we've nicknamed the staff Captain Grumpy.
Yeah.
Right, and if there was someone else open, our regular place is not open on a Sunday, but if there was something else open, we'd desert that place as quick as look at you.
Yeah.
And it's all about service.
It is.
And the attitude.
So.
Yeah.
You're spot on, because you do, when you leave somewhere, the service is the thing that sits in your head. Then you'll talk about the food. But if you've got a complaint, it'll be, the service was a bit ordinary. My kids hate me because of my background in retail. They go, Dad's going to go off, because if the service is just not nice, forget whether it's outstanding, and I don't go off, but I will say, hey, excuse me, and they take off. I find everyone's gone and I'm standing there just saying, look, next time, do you think you could? But
hello, got a leak in the roof.
No, they're hosing down upstairs.
Are they?
Yep.
They're actually trying to find. We do have a leak on table 8.
Where all that rain came from the other day.
So we've got the boys upstairs trying to find out where our leaks are at the moment.
And trying to find a leak is so hard, because the water will find its lowest point and it can come from
anywhere, couldn't it?
So Donna, just run us through the three. So Beav's is a bar?
Yes, so Beav's Bar is a bar. So alcohol, nuts and chips.
Yep.
Live entertainment from Wednesday to Sunday, which is obviously why it's so busy. It's a great party atmosphere. Then the Arborist, where we're sitting right now. So it's open from Wednesday to Sunday, lunch to dinner. The rooftop is open from 3 o'clock from Wednesday through to Sunday. Then Meet Me at Mary's is open Friday to Sunday for lunches, and then Wednesday to Saturday night for dinners.
And just the menus between both. So Meet Me at Mary's, what's your slant on the food?
Meet Me at Mary's is more of a Middle Eastern cuisine, modern Australian Middle Eastern cuisine. The cuisine over at Meet Me at Mary's is an Asian fusion type of feel over there. Yeah.
And Beav's is nuts, chips,
Beav's is nuts and chips and alcohol.
And I have to give a plug, because I was chatting to my daughter the other night, and I'll combine two discussions with her, and she and her girlfriend came to visit, and I dropped them off in Geelong outside another establishment, and when they finally came home at whatever time in the morning it was, I said, "Where did you go?" And they said, "Oh, we ended up at Beav's," and we'd forgotten how great Beav's was, because she's away living in Queensland. So we had a really good night, and it was safe, and it was fun, and she still talks about it. So yeah. I think, because your clientele would be young? It's a bit mixed at Beef's Bar, to be honest, but yeah, definitely young. But you do get the oldies in there as well. Yeah.
And he, on the 3rd of December, it's 21 years old.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go.
Well, there you go. Well, they're fantastic. Oh, are you having a happy birthday party type scenario?
Well, Beav's a lot like myself, and doesn't really like the whole in-your-face, likes to go under the radar. So, yeah, we will be doing something, but we'll probably do it in February. There's just sort of too much going on right
at this
now
time of the year
to organise something. Yeah. But, you know, we'll be saying... There'll be something on socials, I'm sure.
Yep. So Meet Me at Mary's is located in Packington Street.
Yes, 66 Packington
Street. 66 Packington Street. Beav's Bar is 1 door up, 2 doors up from the Arborist.
Right next
door.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the Arborist you can't miss, with the wonderful trees at the front.
That's right.
So, Donna, thank you. That was a lovely story. And I love the fact where you started to where you are, but you're still hanging on to that design bit, which is really important.
That's my zen. That's my...
Well, it's not unusual with how many interviews and podcasts have we done where somebody has fallen back on their creative side later on in life.
Yep, it's really cool.
I think there's a common theme there, for sure.
And the Arborist is a well-deserving winner of the award from the Business Excellence.
Yeah, well done, Donna.
And really have a great trading season over Christmas.
Thank you, we will. It's looking busy, which is great.
Fantastic. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.